大家好, I'm Nathan Rich, aka 火锅大王. Have you ever heard of creationists? They're people, usually Christian, who believe the earth was created a few thousand years ago. Some of them get tangled up in debates about how evolution isn't real and other things of that nature. It's always been interesting to me to listen to those debates, mostly because I feel like I could prove either side of it. But let's back up. You're probably wondering, with so much evidence of evolution, what exactly is the argument against it? How can anyone believe that something so clearly and overwhelmingly proven to be true is somehow not yet proven? To find out, let's go through this report from the Washington Post. At first, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with evolution deniers, but strip away the specifics and you'll find this article might as well have been written by them. This might as well be an article about how evolution is all fake. The article I'm referring to is called China Confirms Detention of American FedEx Pilot Suspected of Smuggling Ammunition. Hong Kong! China is investigating an American FedEx pilot for smuggling ammunition. Alright, what now? So the Washington Post says this case could cause even more troubles for the mail courier. If you guys recall, recently FedEx illegally diverted packages from China to America. Then some of the Western media used weasel words to minimize the crimes. So yes, this sounds true. This could definitely cause more issues for FedEx. But what are we even talking about exactly? China's Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhuang said Todd A. Hone was detained for having 681 airsoft gun pellets in his luggage. He was planning to travel to Hong Kong. We know the pellets have been used against police by rioters. And we know that foreigners are taking part in the anti-government protests. So it does seem reasonable that this random citizen had intentions to participate in the violence, right? Wait, it says here he's a former U.S. Air Force colonel. What the hell? This is a guy from the U.S. military transporting illegal weapons paraphernalia into China? And here's where the Washington Post does a fairly good job balancing the facts. People have sometimes said I'm too mean to reporters because I don't mention when they do a good job. So here's a clear example then. This U.S. military guy has pellets, which are ammunition for air guns. And the Washington Post calls them non-metallic pellets, used in low-power replica air guns. Now, I know what they really want to convey is, what's the big deal? These aren't even real bullets. But in a good moment of journalism, they restrain. Instead, they quietly but clearly mention they are non-metallic and that the guns are low power. Yes, it's true, these pellets probably weren't going to kill anyone. But there are multiple angles to these things. The reason it's inappropriate to interject an attitude of, these things are just pellets, who cares? Like they might be tempted to do, is this. What you think is acceptable or safe or okay is irrelevant. It's illegal. It is a weapon, and in China where guns are mostly banned, every illegal gun is serious. So everyone, I would just like to clearly say that I can tell the reporter wanted to make a big deal about the pellets, and I can tell that they didn't. So good job, Washington Post, because you got the info out, but you didn't go overboard with it. There, see? I'm super nice. Can we move on now? Then it tells us this guy was a FedEx pilot. Why would a former high-level government guy piloting FedEx be traveling around with ammunition heading to Hong Kong? Probably the power of propaganda. There are people out there getting so brainwashed by this whole Hong Kong thing, it's really scary. The media is exercising their free reign against China, and that's why I keep talking about Hong Kong. I actually, personally, don't have a lot of interest in the city. I don't mind them protesting. I don't mind them asking for whatever they want. If they're violent, I'll say that. They are. But it's when the West tries to interject and starts talking about recolonizing Hong Kong that I really speak out. And that's what we're seeing. But don't get me started on the bill in America. The point is, I was never too focused on Hong Kong until the violence broke out and other countries started interfering. It's been proven. We know that foreigners are protesting. We know foreign governments are funding pro-democracy movements in Hong Kong. We know that. There's nothing to prove. Does that mean it's all fake and none of the protesters are genuine? Of course not. So then it spells out clearly what the issue is and gives us a previous example of someone being arrested for weapons. So there is precedent. And it says FedEx is in deep political trouble now. Yeah, exactly. Why the hell is FedEx even participating in political action? FedEx says its business outlook for the year has darkened dramatically amid the trade dispute. Well, you really aren't doing yourself any favors with this latest mess up. Here's a suggestion for you, FedEx. Stop taking political actions. Start delivering packages. You have literally one job. And just another small rant. Here it says Chinese authorities have been investigating FedEx for illegally shipping weapons to Hong Kong. I've considered doing a video about this too. This is something that almost no one notices. I see this so often. A lot of people complain that China has no rule of law. And then when China cracks down on illegal activities, they complain that China's too strict. Investigating FedEx for illegally doing anything is putting in the rule of law. When China cracks down on illegal activities, that is literally progress towards higher rule of law. So some people out there are trying to put China in a vice, condemned for being too lax about laws, and then condemned for enforcing laws. If FedEx is breaking the law, it should be investigated. It's that simple. And yet I so often see the double message. Enforce laws. Why is China enforcing laws? If you think about this while you read news, you'll notice it like I do. It's a stupid, obvious tactic. I know I'm really rambling now, but what does any of this have to do with evolution and creationists? Well, it's interesting to note the way that creationists dismiss evidence of evolution. If you show them a dinosaur, they see a dinosaur. If you show them a small, later stage dinosaur with feathers, they see that animal for itself. Then you show them a bird, and they see a bird. But when you tell them a dinosaur evolved slowly into that bird, something interesting happens. They say they've only seen 3 separate animals with nothing in between. But the second animal was the one in between. No matter how many cases of in-between animals they're shown, they'll say that they need to see the ones in between those. Know what I mean? There's no way to prove evolution in this way because they will always just say there's a missing evolutionary link. And that's the exact same logic I see playing out with this Hong Kong foreign influence situation. I mean, just look at what the article says here. All summer, China has accused the United States of covertly fomenting protests and violence in Hong Kong, but has not provided substantial evidence. Really? What about the video evidence of foreigners protesting and supporting protesters? What about the fact that the NED is directly funded by the United States government? Its mission is literally to push democracy out to the world. What about the fact that riot leaders are meeting with world politicians trying to get international intervention to further their cause? No. YouTube and Google are actively promoting anti-Chinese propaganda. A lot of Western media is obfuscating or outright omitting the violence of rioters and playing up any police violence or mistakes. How about the fact that this article is literally about an ex-government official traveling with illegal weapon paraphernalia to Hong Kong? I mean, you do realize that this article itself is more evidence, right? No? Okay, then how about NDI? Their website says NDI has conducted a series of missions to look into the development of Hong Kong's constitutional and electoral framework, enforcement of the rule of law and civil liberties, and prospects for Hong Kong's democratization. Who's the NDI, you ask? The National Democratic Institute is a non-profit, non-partisan, non-governmental organization. Oh, okay. Never mind about that. I'm sorry, guys. I thought for some reason that they were governmental, but it says right here that they aren't. I guess it's only NED that's governmental. I don't know how I got that so wrong. So anyway, what is this? How is NDI funded? The National Endowment for Democracy. What? That's the U.S. government, at least indirectly. What the? The U.S. Agency for International Development, the U.S. Department of State. Are you serious? This non-governmental organization just happens to be funded by the U.S. government. Wow, so now we know absolutely, without any doubt, that the U.S. government is directly funding NED and NDI, both of which are promoting dissidents in Hong Kong. They are trying to change the political environment. It's proven. It's a fact, as much as evolution itself. And yet, once again, this article says, all summer, China has accused the United States of covertly fomenting protests and violence in Hong Kong, but has not provided substantial evidence. What more evidence do you need? We have a dinosaur that looks bird-like. We have a dinosaur that's half bird. And we have a bird. There isn't enough evidence in the world to convince an adamant creationist or an anti-Chinese bigot. And then it says China's been accused of arresting foreigners on murky or trumped-up charges to apply political pressure to other governments. Right, because there's just no way a foreigner could have done anything wrong. And honestly, I don't know about this claim. I really don't. If that's what's actually happening, then I wouldn't support it. But it does seem kind of strange that China is so often accused of the very thing the accusers have verifiably done. I mean, Canada and the US, both of which are mentioned in this accusation, literally arrested Meng Wanzhou under murky or trumped-up charges. Do you see the pattern? That's the difference between myself and so many phony people. They start off with the assumption that China is wrong and at fault, and then they look for evidence of that. I start out from the assumption that an accusation is not proof. I start out from the assumption that China, the Chinese government, the Chinese people, everyone deserves the benefit of the doubt. You get it? I'm not pro-communist. I'm not pro-China. I'm not pro-socialism or pro-democracy or pro-America. I'm pro-equality of treatment on the international stage. I personally feel China has been mistreated over the last few hundred years and that it deserves much more respect and appreciation than some people give it. If you want me to believe some big bad thing about China, you've got to do the same thing you would have to do if you were talking about the United States. You've got to prove it to me. That's how I operate. I simply don't assume everyone in China is bad and wrong and evil. I assume they are basically good people and that progress is being made. Start treating Chinese people not kind of how you treat others, not almost with as much dignity as you grant others, not sort of with respect and best intentions. Start treating them with the full amount of these things, and suddenly you see the mask of so much news fall apart. Accusations need to be proven. The time for media spouting whatever it wants without anyone calling them on it is coming to an end. I will always bring to the spotlight these biases and holes in empathy and respect. I don't hate this article. It's actually not that bad compared to so much that I see. But the fact is, a lot of the tone of this article would be very different if the exact same story were about a country or group of people the Washington Post considered equal. That's not an issue with them specifically, but with a lot of the international community. If FedEx committed crimes, it should be investigated to determine if further action should be taken. That is a fact. If Todd A. Hone is traveling with illegal weapons or ammunition, then he should be detained and investigated. That is a fact. The United States is indirectly and directly promoting its values inside of Chinese borders, which includes the funding and encouragement of extremely dangerous separatism. That is a fact. And no amount of vague third-person accusations or insinuations changes those facts. Deal with it. And maybe then we can all believe in evolution and evolve together. Thanks, everyone. 谢谢。